At my cousin Marlena's rehearsal dinner, she raised her glass, smiled like she was giving a toast, and said, "Every family has a failure. Ours is her." She pointed right at me. People laughed. I looked around the table. Her bridesmaids giggled behind champagne flutes. Her fiancé Todd smirked like it was just another harmless joke. Even my own mother gave a tight smile, like she didn't want to seem uptight. By not playing along, I kept my face still. That was the trick. Don't flinch. Don't give them the satisfaction. I picked up my wine, took a sip, and made it look like the comments slid right off me. Inside, it landed like a punch to the ribs. I wasn't surprised. Marlena had been pulling stunts like this for years, poking at me, dressing it up as just teasing, then hiding behind a crowd that always let her get away with it. Ever since we were kids, I was the one who didn't fit. The one who didn't go to college, didn't wear pastels at Easter, didn't smile wide enough in photos. The one who enlisted in the army instead of joining her sorority. They didn't care when I came home last year. A welcome sign, no phone call. Odd even a text. It was like I'd failed quietly. In a way, that made them all feel better about themselves. Like being different was something to be ashamed of. And tonight, I was just a prop in Marlena's perfect little event. Another joke to toss out between courses. But then the front doors opened. Heavy wooden doors, wide and slow, creaked open behind us at first. Oh, one looked, but I heard it. Boots on tile, the clink of metal. The sound of someone walking with purpose. The room quieted just enough for a few heads to tour. A man in uniform walked by. Full army dress, blues, polished shoes. Clean-cut, squared shoulders. A folder tucked neatly under his arm. He scanned the room calmly, then walked toward the head table, where Marlena and Todd sat, under strings of fairy lights. I thought maybe he was here for me. I stood up slightly. He didn't even look at me. He stopped at the microphone, tapped it once, then spoke in a firm, professional tone. "Apologies for the interruption. Is the bride present?" The room went still. Marlena froze a yes. "That's me," the man nodded. "Miss Marlena Vale, we need to speak with you regarding your other marriage." At first, no one reacted. It was like the words didn't make sense, like our ears hadn't caught up to what we were hearing. Then the meaning hit. I saw Marlena's eyes wide. Todd slowly turned his head toward her. "You're what?" he asked. Marlena's mouth opened, but no sound came out. She looked pale, like her foundation couldn't keep up with the heat rising under her skin. The officer turned to Todd. "She is currently still legally married to Corporal James Ridley. We have documentation on file. That marriage has not been annulled or legally dissolved." Forks hit plates. Someone gasped. Chairs shifted. The sound of breath being held filled the room. And in that moment, I didn't have to say a word. I didn't have to defend myself or explain who I was, or why I'd been gone, or why I didn't wear heels or makeup, or post photos in matching satin robes with 10 other bridesmaids. I just sat back down, set my glass on the table, and watched a woman who'd spent years calling me the family failure finally have to explain herself. I hadn't planned to attend Marlena's wedding. At the rehearsal, not the ceremony. One of it. I deleted the invitation when it first arrived. I didn't need another reminder of where I stood in this family. But then my younger brother, Jace, called. "You should come," he said. "You've been gone for years. Just show your face, eat the free food, and go home." He was trying to make it sound simple, like showing up wouldn't cost me anything. But I knew what I'd be walking into. My Kusi, Marlena's wedding, wasn't going to be a family event. It was going to be a performance. And I was going to be cast in a role I didn't choose. I got back from my last deployment 10 months ago. I served 5 years in the army. 2 tours. The kind of time that changes your entire concept of noise, sleep hunger, and what it means to be okay. But to my family, I wasn't a soldier. I was the girl who didn't finish college. The one who ran off instead of settling down. The one who came home quiet ploy. A little too serious for their taste. I moved into a small apartment outside Bosto and started working at a veteran services office. Nothing fancy, just helping people fill out paperwork, navigate housing options, stay off the street. It gave me purpose. Not once did anyone in my family ask me about it. My mother told people I was getting back on my feet, as if I'd tripped. My father Doug kept trying to connect, but mostly ended up saying the wrong things. Marlena's doing great, he'd mention in every conversatio, as if her success was a map I had refused to follow. And then there was Marlena herself. She and I used to be close. When we were little, we played together constantly. She was wild and dramatic. I was quieter, she told me secrets. I kept them, that changed when we got older. Somewhere between middle school and prom, I became someone she used to tolerate. She discovered popularity. I discovered solitude. She moved towards spotlight. I drifted into the background. By the time I left for basic training, she barely acknowledged me at family gatherings. She called it Emily's phase. The last time we were in the same room, before the wedding, was my grandfather's funeral. She spent more time talking about the catering than the man in the casket. So when Jace asked me to come to the rehearsal dinner, I hesitated. He was my only sibling. The only one who didn't treat me like a stranger in my own family. He looked up to me when we were kids. Still, did I think I owed him at least one night. The dinner was at a lakeside venue, about an hour from our hometown. White lights wrapped around the trees. Glass lanterns floating on the water. Tables arranged in perfect symmetry, with centerpieces that looked like they cost more than my rent. I showed up in a black dress. Simple, pressed, modest. I kept my hair down, no makeup. I didn't want to be noticed, just present enough to say I came. Inside, Marlena looked like a magazine cover. Hair curled into waves, lips painted wine red. A diamond that screamed for attention, even when her hand was still. She was surrounded by bridesmaids in dusty pink. And Todd, her fiancé, stood next to her like a proud accessory. When she saw me, her smile shifted. Not wide, not warm. Just enough to make sure the photographer didn't catch anything off. She came over, hugged me like we were friends. Emily, wow. I can't believe you came. I told everyone you were too busy climbing mountains or, I don't know, fixing tanks. I'm working at a veteran center, I said. She blinked like I'd spoken a different language. Oh, that's nice. She turned to introduce me to Todd. He shook my hand and gave me the same smile. People reserved for waitstaff and Uber drivers. Friendly, hollow. I took a seat at the table near my parents. My mother greeted me with a, "You look tired, dear." My father gave a firm nod, then started talking to the man next to him about property taxes. I sat beside Jace, who leaned over and whispered, "You're doing great, just breathe through it." I didn't want to be there, but I was. I'd shown up. I thought maybe that would be enough. I didn't know it yet, but that night would be the last time anyone in my family saw Marlena the way they used to. And it would be the first time they saw me at all. Dinner started like every other family event. Polished on the surface and tense underneath. Servers floated between tables, with trays of wine and hors d'oeuvres. Marlena's voice carried over the soft music, as she laughed too loudly at her friends' stories. Her fiancé Todd stood close, nodding like he was always in on the joke, even when he wasn't listening. I sat between Jace and a cousin I hadn't seen since middle school. He talked about stock trading. I nodded politely, my eyes kept drifting back to Marlena. She was performing the way she always did, making everything about her look effortless. People leaned in when she spoke, laughed harder than they needed to, and smiled too long after the joke ended. When the speeches began, her father, my Uncle Henry, stood up first. He thanked everyone for coming, welcomed Todd's family with a joke about surviving the Bridezilla phase, and toasted to the couple's future. There was laughter and clinking glasses. Then Marlena's maid of honor spoke. Then one of Todd's brothers. Sweet, boring, predictable. Then Marlena stood up. She didn't wait for applause or attention. She already had it. She held her glass with perfect posture and looked around the room, like a queen addressing her court. I just want to say thank you, she began, to everyone here who's been part of our lives, especially the ones who've shown us what not to do. There were a few chuckles. She turned her eyes toward me. Locked eye. Every family has that one person, right, she said, her tone light playful. The one who still hasn't figured out who they are. In our case. Well, she's sitting right there. She pointed, her finger actually pointed at me. Laughter rolled through the room like a wave. Light at first, then louder. The kind that grows because everyone's afraid to be the one who stays silent. I froze. My cheeks flushed hot, not from embarrassment, but from restraint. I stared straight ahead, jaw tight. Breath measured. God was grinning, nodding along. Every family needs one, he added with a chuckle. Keeps things interesting. More laughter. My mother laughed too. High-pitched and awkward, like she was trying to erase the discomfort. My father looked down at his napkin. Jace didn't laugh. He muttered something under his breath I didn't catch. My throat tightened, but I didn't speak. I didn't move, I just kept my eyes on my water glass, watching the condensation bead and roll down the side. I had faced worse. I had walked through heat that could blister ski. I had slept with my boots so next to people who might not wake up. But that night in that perfectly decorated room, surrounded by relatives and strangers, pretending they knew me, I felt completely alone. The laughter died down. Marlena moved on with her speech, pretending the joke didn't matter. But it did, she meant it. She wanted everyone to laugh at me, because it made her shine brighter. I thought about getting up. I thought about walking out the front door and never looking back. But something in me refused to let her win like that. I stayed. A few minutes later, the final toast ended. Dessert was being served when the doors at the back of the room opened. At first, no one noticed. The music was back. Oh, the clinking of forks on cake plates filled the air. Then a figure stepped inside. Tall, clean cut, in full army dress uniform. His presence shifted the room even before he spoke. Something about the way he walked silenced people. One by one, heads turned. A few people whispered. The bus faded. He made his way toward the front of the room with calm, deliberate steps, holding a file under his arm. The heels of his polished shoes clicked against the wood floor. Like a metronome, he stopped at the microphone. His voice was even formal, not loud but commanding. Apologies for the interruption. Is the bride present? Marlena stood. Yes. I'm Marlena. I need to speak with you, he said. Regarding your other marriage. The room fell into a silence so deep it felt physical. A vacuum. Todd turned his head slowly toward her. What is he talking about? Marlena didn't answer, her lips parted. But no sound came out. The officer didn't flinch. Miss Marlena Vale, you are still legally married to Corporal James Ridley. That marriage has not been legally dissolved. We have documentation on file. I have been instructed to inform you of this, as part of a formal inquiry. People stared. Todd's parents were whispering now. My mother had her hand over her mouth. Then my father sat froze, eyes wide. Marlena's expression cracked. The mask slipped. She looked around like she was searching for a line. An exit away to explain herself. But the damage had already been done. I looked down at my plate. I hadn't touched my dessert. My stomach felt hollow and hard. She had tried to humiliate me. Tried to put me in my place. And now, her perfect world was unraveling in front of everyone. The room had fallen into complete silence. The kind you don't forget. Not the silence of a lull or an awkward pause. But the kind that swallows a space. People looked at each other. But no one knew what to say. The officer's words hung in the air. Marlena was still standing at the head table. She looked like a statue. Her fingers were clenched around the edge of her chair. Her chest rose and fell quickly. But she didn't say a word. Todd stared at her like she was a stranger. His parents looked embarrassed. Maybe angry, maybe both. One of the bridesmaids whispered something. That made another cover her mouth. I didn't move, I didn't need to. For once I wasn't the one under the microscope. I didn't have anything to explain. I had come quietly and eaten my meal. Stayed in my seat, I had shown up. That was it, and suddenly. That was more than enough. The officer handed Marlena a manila envelope. This is a copy of the marriage certificate. He said you signed it 2 years ago in El Paso County. Until this is formally resolved, you are legally married under federal records. That creates potential legal implications for your current ceremony. Marlena took the folder with a shaky hand, but said nothing. She couldn't look at anyone. Her lips pressed into a hard line as tears welled up. But she held them back. Todd finally spoke. Is this true? She still didn't answer. I asked you a question, he said. Louder this time, is this true, Marlena? I forgot, she mumbled. You forgot you were married. It wasn't real, she said. Her voice cracking. It was for insurance. He was deploying, we never lived together. It didn't mean anything. Todd didn't say anything right away. He just looked down at the floor. Then he turned and walked away from the table. Past the guests. Past the photographer who had stopped snapping pictures. He didn't slam the door, he just disappeared through it. Marlena stood there alone. The officer gave a polite nod and walked out the way he came. Once he was gone, people began to stir again, whispering. Looking around, standing up to clear their plates. Or take awkward trips to the bar. I sat still for a long time. Then I caught Jace's eye. You okay? He asked quietly. Fine, I said. You didn't know about this. I shook my head. I wouldn't have kept it to myself if I had. He nodded, still watching Marlena. Guess she finally outdid herself. I could have stood up there. I could have said something. Asked if anyone still thought I was the family failure. Asked if this counted as one of Marlena's flawless life choices. But I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't need to rub it. The truth had landed all by itself. I didn't have to do a thing. Instead, I stood up slowly, pulled my jacket over my shoulders, and looked at the door. Then I turned to my mom. She looked stunned still, sitting with a half-full glass of wine in her hand. I'm heading out, I said. She blinked and looked up at me. Emily, are you okay? I'm fine, I said. My dad stood too. You don't want dessert? Oh, I turned to Jace. You staying for a minute? Want me to drive you home? I've got my car. Text me when you get back. He said. He gave me a quick hug. As I walked past the head table, Marlena sat slumped in her chair, staring at the papers in her hand. Oh, one spoke to her for once. She wasn't the center of attention. She was just another person who had made a choice. and finally had to deal with the consequences. And for the first time in years, I wasn't the one they were whispering about. I wasn't invisible, I wasn't someone's punchline. I was just a woman who had served, come home and kept her integrity. A woman who had survived, more than anyone in that room could ever understand. I didn't slam the door either. I walked out quietly. Calm. Steady and unbothered. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I had nothing left to prove. I walked to my car. Under a dark sky flickering with cold stars. The wind coming off the lake was sharp, biting at the skin on my arms, as I unlocked the door and slid into the driver's seat. I sat there with my hands on the wheel. Breathing deeply, I wasn't angry. I wasn't even surprised, I was just full of something I hadn't felt in a long time. Odd joy, not revenge, just clarity. Inside that glowing venue, my cousin's perfect world had cracked. She had mocked me in front of our entire family. And 5 minutes later, her own secret was exposed. In a way she couldn't spin or excuse. But this wasn't about karma or justice. It was about a shift I felt inside myself. A line finally drawn, a burden finally dropped. My phone buzzed in the cup holder. It was Jace. You good? Yeah, you. Marlena left crying. Todd's gone. Everyone's pretending like nothing happened. I smiled to myself, a bitter, but quiet kind of smile that sounded like our family. Push the mess under the rug. And keep smiling for the photo. Go home, you don't owe them anything. I started the car and pulled onto the road. Headlights cutting through the trees. As I drove, I thought about everything that had led to this night. The years of being told I was less. The looks, the jokes. The way my parents never defended me. The way Marlena never missed a chance to turn me into a symbol of failure, so she could feel taller. And yet I had never tried to one-up her. I had never exposed her secrets or stooped to her level. I'd simply kept going. Kept living my life with quiet dignity. Even when no one noticed. The next morning I got a call from my dad. I didn't answer, then he texted. Can we talk? I waited a few hours before I called him back. His voice was tired. He asked if I was okay. If I had heard what happened. I told him I had been there for all of it. She didn't mean it, he said. Yes, she did. I replied. She always has. He was quiet. Then he sighed. I'm sorry you were dragged into it. I wasn't dragged into it, I was targeted. Another pause. Longer this time. I know you felt outside the family for a while. He said, that's our fault. We didn't understand what you needed. You didn't try to, you're right. He didn't try to defend himself after that. He didn't try to explain her behavior or mine. He didn't even ask for forgiveness. He just said he hoped I'd still come to the wedding. Which at that point was clearly cancelled. I hope she's okay. I said, and I meant it. I didn't hate Marlena, I pitied her. Her whole life had been about performing. About controlling the narrative. She'd spent so long trying to look perfect. She forgot to actually be honest. A week later I got a letter in the mail, handwritten. A return address. But the handwriting was familiar. Emily, I don't know what to say. Except that you didn't deserve what I did. I made a joke at your expense. Because I thought that's what people expected from me. Because I was insecure and selfish. You didn't do anything wrong. You just showed up and reminded me what real strength looks like. I'm sorry. Marlena. I didn't write her back. Some apologies don't need responses. Sometimes the silence that follows is enough. Instead I pinned the letter to my fridge with a magnet. Shaped like a dog tag, a reminder not of the pie, but of the truth finally coming to light. A month later, I was asked to speak at a local veterans panel. I told a room full of strangers, That you don't always get the family you deserve. Sometimes, you get the one that teaches you exactly who you are. By constantly misunderstanding you. After the event, a woman came up to me, eyes shining with tears. She said, "Thank you. My daughter's in the army. I never knew how to talk to her without making her feel small. I think I've been doing it wrong." I shook her hand. It's not too late to do it right. Walking away that night, I realized I had never been the failure. I had been the scapegoat for their insecurities. I had made my life with my own hands. I had carried my silence like armor. Shame. And for the first time, I finally saw myself the way I deserved to be seen. 2 months passed before I saw any of them again. Marlena's wedding was officially called off. There was no big announcement. Explanation sent out to guests. Follow-up photos posted. Just silence. Her social media went dark. Her bridal website was deleted. As far as the family was concerned, it became one more thing we weren't supposed to talk about. Something they hoped people would forget. But I didn't forget. Because I wanted revenge. And not because I was holding a grudge. I remembered because for the first time, something cracked wide open. And everyone had to sit in the truth. The next family gathering was my father's birthday. Smaller crowd, fewer distractions. Champagne toasts. I debated not going, but this time, I didn't feel like I was walking into enemy territory. I felt different. I felt equal. When I walked in, my mother gave me a quiet smile. Backhanded comments about my outfit. Subtle jabs about what I was doing with my life. Just a real, almost cautious hello. Marlena wasn't there. I sat beside Jace and listened to the conversation swirl around us. For once, people didn't talk over me. They asked questions, real ones. About my job, about what it had been like coming home. About what I wanted to do next. I answered honestly. I didn't make myself smaller. To make them more comfortable. After dinner, my dad pulled me aside. In the kitchen, he leaned against the counter. Arms crossed. "I've been thinking a lot about that night." He said, "I have too." I told him. He looked at me, not like a parent trying to fix things, but like a man seeing his daughter. Clearly for the first time. "I didn't stand up for you. I should have all those years. I let it slide because I thought it would pass. I thought it was harmless." "It wasn't," I said. "But I survived it. And I'm not waiting for anyone to tell me. I turned out okay." He nodded, eyes wet. "You did more than okay." That was all I needed, not because it fixed everything, but because it told me I no longer had to fight to be seen. He had finally opened his eyes. I never saw Marlena again. In person. I heard she moved in with a friend downstate and started working as a freelance event planner. The family didn't say much, and I didn't ask. Her story wasn't mine to chase. But sometimes I think about that night. The way the entire room laughed when she called me a failure. And the way they all froze when her lie surfaced. Because I needed to relive the moment. But because it reminded me of something important. There are people in this world who will do everything they can to define you by your worst day. Your hardest moment, your quietest season. They'll pick you apart so they can feel more complete. And if you let them, they will write your story without your consent. But silence isn't weakness. Sometimes silence is strength. Sometimes it's the loudest thing in the room. That night I didn't defend myself. I didn't fight back. I didn't need to. The truth stood up for me. People always say that blood is thicker than water. But they forget the rest of that. Saying the full version is, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. It means the family you choose. The people you bleed beside. are sometimes more important than the ones you're born into. My family didn't know what to do with me because I didn't fit the mold. But I stopped needing to fit. I started building a life that didn't depend on their approval. I built it with service, with integrity, with grit. And in the end, I didn't have to become someone else to be worthy. I just had to stop shrinking for people who couldn't see me. Now when I walk into a room, I don't hope for their respect. I expect it, and when someone calls me a failure, I smile because I know better. If this story meant something to you, if you've ever felt overlooked, underestimated, or silenced, I hope it reminded you that your value isn't measured by how others see you. It's defined by how you carry yourself. When no one is clapping, you don't have to prove your worth to people who refuse to see it. Stand tall anyway. Quiet strength speaks loudest. When the world expects you to stay small. If you connected with this story, give the video a like. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And let me know your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever been the black sheep in your own family?